time for Baby Boomers in Action. Here's your host, Jim McWhorter.
Okay, welcome to Baby Boomers in Action. I am so glad you joined us today because, as usual, we've got another great show for you, packed full of information. And if you remember, some part of our new format, we're doing our viewer questions, some of them that we do on News 9 on Sunday mornings, where we're limited on time. And I'm sure you watch that, News 9 Sunday morning, 6:40 a.m., because we're there every Sunday live. And the viewer question that we had just 2 or 3 weeks ago was about many of us, and so many questions are just related to COVID. And I know that we get tired of that sometimes, but on the other hand, if we can share some information that will provide some relief, then that's what's important to me, to be able to do that with you. And so our viewer question was about people who, yes, they've been stuck at home for months and find themselves in a bad mood. And you know, one of the things that I do is a lot of research about things like this and things that can help improve people's moods. And so one of the things that, obviously a hug is getting hard to find right now because of social distancing. But on top of that, one of the things that we can do that's very simple, and research is showing that it can almost make an instant mood change, and it's smiling. Everybody smile right now and think about this, because there are reasons that the research is showing that smiling becomes so important to us. And the first one is that when we smile and use those few muscles in our mouth to do that, it's almost like an instant attitude change. And it releases these feel-good hormones in our brains. And there's technical terms for what those hormones are that I'm not going to go into because I'm not a scientist. But I do know that smiling makes you feel better, and so you can actually feel those feel-good hormones releasing in your brains. The second thing that it does is it reduces stress, and don't we all need that now, especially with our viewers who are confined at home, to work at home, teaching their children at home, all of the things that you know we have gone through this year. And so stress relief is major important. The next thing that it will do, it can boost our immune system, and it can lower our blood pressure. And so these are things that are important, and also digestion. Some of these studies are showing that it improves people's digestive systems. And so keep that in mind and smile, and even if you have to force yourself. And then the next thing is cast your eyes upward. Don't smile looking down, smile looking up, and looking up at yourself in the mirror if you have to, and practice. Casting eyes upward is very important. And some of these brain studies are very complicated, but think about this. Casting eyes upward. The artists have been doing that in the cathedrals for centuries. All of the beautiful paintings that are in the cathedrals on the ceilings and all, they knew that there was something important to looking up, and it symbolizing looking up to God, but looking up to the ceilings with the beautiful artistry that is there. Makes you feel good to see things like that. Looking up at each other. And that's our last point, is when you smile at others, they smile back. And so keep smiling, everyone. We've got to keep smiling. We'll get through all of the challenges that we have, but we've got to smile. We've got to have a positive attitude. And so hang in there with me, and let's all smile together, and we will continue on with our show today.
Hi, it's your friend Buddy here. Now at Wellington Park, we have our new family visit booth, where my friends living here can safely talk to and hold hands with their loved ones and friends, while we get through these challenging times. Hey Jim, I'm so glad that I can even come to Wellington Park and hold your paws and visit with you. I love you. Stay active, stay healthy, stay happy. Join us at Wellington Park.
All right, so I'm here with Jay Johnson, and Jay, we want to continue with the questions. Chairman of the board of the Oklahoma Hospital Association, very knowledgeable about what's going on, and especially in the hospitals he works in. And so, Jay, everybody thinks 2020 has just been a bummer year, and it has, obviously. But what's the projection for 2021 as far as how you see the hospital stats going, like January through March, the first quarter of 2021?
It's another great question. It's hard to know. We had some predictions by an epidemiologist based on really what he thought the state would do about 3 or 4 weeks ago that we're still operating from right now. And those predictions said that they thought the pandemic would peak the last week of December, the first week of January. Right. So we've been kind of operating on the premise that might be the peak. However, for hospitals, it's pretty routine to have your peak census throughout the winter. And depending on how well we socially distance, wash our hands, and wear masks, we always say those things. Depending on how well as a community we do that, it will affect those positivity rates and what then our hospitalization rates are. So I am hopeful that those peaks are as described, and then I'm hopeful that we will at least see somewhat of a decline through the winter. Although because it's the winter months, we're all indoors. I've also heard a theme called "Don't share your air." This is a respiratory. This is a disease that's passed through your respiratory breaths.
Yes.
I think that is going to continue. Is probably going to keep at least a pretty good census through the winter months, just because it's colder and we're all indoors.
Right. Well, and I know early on this year, some of the experts were saying we just got to make it till summer because we believe the hot weather is going to kill the virus, and then it didn't. And so let's talk a little bit about the vaccine, because as we're speaking, the National Guard trucks are unloading the first 33,000 vaccines that the federal government has sent to Oklahoma. And you and I were talking earlier, frontline workers at hospitals are the first ones to get the vaccines, and rightly so. And so how do you think the vaccine is going to impact what we're trying to do now?
Well, we see it as our way out. This is I think the fun or the nice thing about looking at 2021 is that I think there is light at the end of the tunnel. I've even heard it said that we could start to come out of this as early as April, as late as July, August. I think those are probably reasonable. Maybe we'll start seeing some the conditions to alleviate a little bit. But the vaccine is really the hope and why people are saying that. So I think the sooner we can get at least 60% of our society vaccinated, the better. And it's another number I've been told. It's kind of 60% is that number that we're looking to get to start seeing some relief.
And I've heard numbers as high as 80% before it's really going to get a lot better and much safer for all the businesses and the public gatherings. And so now I want to talk a little bit about mask wearing, and how important do you think that still is with the vaccine coming on?
I think it's very important. I think it's it's really, one of the things that's been so difficult in this public health crisis is to come up with treatments that really work. And,
right.
Masking has shown to work, especially when you don't have high positivity rates. I think as your communities get higher, the masking is less effective because it's already spreading among your community. But not to say that it's still not effective, because it is still effective. And it's really the only tool we have, that and washing hands and keeping our distance are the things that are going to keep us going through this, to hopefully keep the pandemic as tamped down as we possibly can.
Right. One of the concerns I have, and I think I briefly mentioned it to you before we went on the air, was, okay, so a person gets the vaccine and maybe they're going to start having protection from the virus, but does that mean they don't have to wear a mask anymore?
Right. You know, it's funny, I asked that very question. We have a group that meets 3 times a week with, there's 4 of our physicians on that group and some of our hospital leaders, and we just talk about where we are and how we're managing day to day in our hospitals, but also, these kinds of things, how we do the vaccine, what's the impact. And maybe 8 weeks ago, I said in the meeting, because I'm not a doctor, I said, I'm ready to get this vaccine because I can't wait to take this mask off. I was quickly stopped and said, you won't be able to take your mask off. And I remember being so disappointed to hear one of our physicians speak up and tell me you can't take your mask off. That it is going to take time to get to herd immunity. You know, that we were just talking about that 60 to 80% of the people that have the vaccine to where there's enough break in the people that can get it that they don't pass it among each other. So we won't be able to take our masks off for a while. And I think that it will be, once we achieve herd immunity, is what I'm told is the end game for removal. And, I still think there's a big unknown, and that is, how long will the vaccine last?
Yes.
Is this vaccine going to be like a flu shot that we take every year? Will it be like, measles and all the mumps and all the other ones that we take vaccinations for that we may or may not ever get a booster for the rest of our lives?
Right. Oh, that's a good point. And I hadn't really thought about that, because the excitement is that there's a vaccine, it's 93% proven or 90-something% proven. The FDA did the emergency approval on it, and so there's excitement about that. And then there's people that aren't sure. Well, I hear about side effects, and now what do you think about those?
Yeah, it's so one thing on the vaccine is longevity, and then this question of side effects is, I recently had the shingles vaccination. You've had the shingles, it's a shot called Shingrix, and it comes in 2 shots as well. And the Pfizer vaccine we're going to get for COVID-19 is, you take a shot and then 3 weeks later you get a booster shot.
Right.
The way they describe the symptoms reminds me of the symptoms they described that I'd feel for the shingles, which I did.
Right.
I just finished my second dose 4 weeks ago. And you get a little, there's some soreness at the site of injection. There was some fatigue, a little bit of minor body aches, but nothing horrible.
Right.
But my definition of horrible and someone else's may be different. and clearly there have been people that have had strong reactions also that you really experience with almost all vaccines anyway. There's a small percentage that have those, and so we have to be prepared for those in our hospitals and emergency rooms in case those things do occur. But I know we are.
Well, and another thing that I think is important, and maybe you agree with this, but I want to be sure that we are encouraging people, once they get the vaccine, to not forget all of the precautions we've been doing all year. And the washing of hands is going to be very important, because and sanitizing and all, besides the mask wearing, because just because you've had the vaccine doesn't mean that you're not touching hard surfaces, and that you can't pass that on to somebody that has not had it yet or cannot take it for whatever reason. And so how do you feel about that?
Yeah, you're so right about that. That's just that same concept, and we've got to keep our precautions up. But we have to really encourage people to get out and take this vaccine, and to then continue those 3 concepts of wash your hands, watch your distance, and wear a mask. The 3 W's.
You bet. And I know I'm ready for it myself. We're a part of Plan B. I'm an owner administrator of Wellington Park Assisted Living and here in Oklahoma City, and so we are anxiously awaiting our time to be able to get that administered and to continue to protect our residents. So, Jay?
We're expecting our vaccine tomorrow, and we will begin administering them on Thursday. So we're really excited to get started.
Oh, I guess so. Well, anything else that you can think of that would be of good interest to our Baby Boomer in Action viewing audience?
Yeah, I think one other thing I just mentioned is this. Another thing we've been worried about through the winter is flu. We've been in flu season, and one of the things that we've been worried about in hospitals is, can we really manage the surge of patients in a pandemic along with the flu season that we're typically prepared to deal with higher volumes than we typically have the rest of the year? Those two stacked on top of each other were very concerning for hospitals across our state. And just to date, it's just interesting to me. So today is in mid-December. We've yet to have a flu admission at Duncan Regional Hospital, which we've typically had a flu admission by now. So, and we knew that coming into this season that the Southern Hemisphere that just came out of winter had a really mild flu season as well, which makes you wonder if the 3 W's, the wash your hands, watch your distance, wear a mask, are impacting flu.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see how much of that we have when the winter's finished.
That's a great point, and I mean, I know my life has changed because I wash my hands 10 times more than I ever have in my life, and I will continue to do that because of just the fact that there are so many viruses out there besides COVID, and hopefully that has helped with the flu. And so, well, Jay, I appreciate so much you joining us today. This has been a wonderful interview and great information that you're sharing with my TV viewers. And I just wish you the best tomorrow when you start the vaccines at the hospital, and be safe.
Thank you. I really appreciate being on. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Wellington Park, a great place to live. Yes, it's your friend Buddy again, and I love being here. I get to greet people. I attend planning meetings. I answer my emails. We even take care of your medications, so you can live worry-free. We also go shopping. And I love it when we play bingo. B12, D2, wait, this sounds more like taking vitamins.
Stay active, stay healthy, stay happy. Join us at Wellington Park. Today's scripture is found in Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. I know you enjoyed our show today on Baby Boomers in Action, and I want to remind all our viewers that I mentioned earlier on that we have a new format that we're going to be utilizing on the segments each week, and one of those is to use viewer questions that we get on About Your Retirement with News 9 on my Sunday morning show, and where we've only got 5 minutes there, we've got much longer to go through those and make sure we cover them well and answer the questions. But it's very important for you to continue to send your viewer questions in, because we can use them on Baby Boomers in Action. I use them on News 9 About Your Retirement on Sunday mornings, and wow, if you can believe it, I'm going to be starting my 13th year doing that program in 2021. So that's kind of incredible to me. But please continue sending those to us, and we know I get so many comments about the commercials that we do. We're sponsored each week by Wellington Park, Retirement Community, Assisted Living, and Enriched Living, which is our Alzheimer's and memory care community. And Buddy, we'll bring him back on the show. We've even made a couple of new commercials with Buddy that you've been seeing on television. Amidst the COVID things, we did everything safely, and we try to make them funny so that people can enjoy. It's so important for you to even force yourself to smile. I'm Jim McWhorter, your host. See you next week on Baby Boomers in Action.